So before we start, welcome everyone. I think we are good to start now. I have got a really interesting speaker with us, Kaustav Majumdar. Kaustav is in one liner, he is a juggernaut basically. Kaustav is a guy who is a change maker, who is a technologist, who basically helps the startups to grow, helped multiple startups to grow from 0 to 100 till date. Uh, Working with multiple number of incubation centers and innovation centers, traveled all across the globe and can speak several language. But I guess, Costa, for the audience, will be keeping the whole thing in English. So the audience who are new in this Zoom call, for them, we actually manage very strict rule not to put your phone in unmute mode while the speaker is speaking. Whatever question you have, there is a chat box. You can use it. You can put your questions over there. And once speaker is done, he can see it. He can actually read the question, or I can do the same and he can give the reply. I hope to have a successful meeting. I can see more people asking for joining. So over to you, Kostav. Looking forward for a great session. In today's time in COVID-19, we are all looking for customers. People are actually looking for getting their whatever startup, whatever business to grow. They are thinking that what would happen next, what will be the future. We had a couple of other interesting panel talks earlier, and a lot of us are thinking that maybe this is the time for increasing user base instead of direct consumers, and then maybe go for the increasing the customer segment. So over to you, Kostav. I'll put myself in mute so that there is no noise and there is no disturbance.
Thank you, Arijit. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me over here. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kaustav Majumdar. Arijit is a buddy and he is usually very nice to everybody. So I don't think we should pay much attention to his wonderful introduction of me. Very, very briefly, I have been an entrepreneur all my life. Literally, my first business venture was when I was in class 7. I tried to set up a library and I lost a lot of books. I have had a few lucky successes. Most of my life has been a string of various different failures. But luckily, there were a few successes, so I'm still around. In most of my time nowadays, I spend with different academic institutions, and I invest in a few companies, and I work with various different startups in different parts of the country and some abroad. I have spent most of my life shuttling between Europe and India. I've recently come back again end of 2018, but I still travel a fair bit. Arijit is a friend. Both of us together do some work for IIM Calcutta. That's where we met, and I think we became very good friends thereafter. I have a very short session with you guys today. I have to unfortunately use something which I don't like using, which is PowerPoint. I've been holding workshops in various places for the last 20, 25 years, and I absolutely abhor PowerPoints. But coronavirus is changing us in so many different ways. So you'll have to be a little patient with me. My PowerPoints are very basic. They're not very fancy. Hopefully it'll have something of substance for you. There's also going to be a small little video over there which may be known to you. If it is known to some of you, please be a sport and just ignore it. It's going to be a very small one. For the rest, hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm trying to get to. If it is not going to work, Arijit, this is something for you. We will quickly see. If it doesn't work, we'll just ignore it and go forward. Zoom 2 weeks back was a lot more stable than what it is now. Zoom has exploded, literally. The valuation of the organization has shot up to about $43–44 billion. And the owner has made another $4 or $5 billion. I don't think he had planned a growth of this nature. And only today morning, my videos were not playing in my presentations. So we'll give it a go. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we'll go ahead.
Sure.
The session per se is going to be hopefully for about 20-25 minutes. We will have a shortish question answer kind of a thing right after that. I think Arijit will help monitor the chat. We don't have a lot of time, but I will leave my contact details with people. Those of you who would like to get in touch later on, you're welcome to do so. And otherwise, you always can connect with me via Arijit any which ways. So with that, without any further ado, I'm so sorry. This is extremely mechanical. In an ideal world scenario, we would have been together in front of each other with a cup of coffee in our hands, and we would have got to meet each other a little more. We would have been a little more, I think, comfortable. But with this, we'll have to make do. So I'm going to try and share my screen now. Arijit, this is a purple colored screen. I hope it's visible to you guys. I'm so sorry. It sounds extremely Is it okay? Can you see it? Is it okay?
Yeah, we can see this.
Very cool. Okay. So, guys, what do we have today? Our what Arijit and I thought would be a very interesting way of looking at is, see, whatever we're going through right now is unprecedented. None of us had planned for this, even in our wildest of dreams. The fact of the matter is the economy is going to take a massive hit, not just in India, but across the world. We are all going to be in some degree of trouble. For some, it will be small trouble. For unfortunately, quite a few, it will be catastrophic. Question is, what do we do in terms of what do we do now, which is going to be perhaps which may help us wade through these difficult, choppy waters and emerge slightly better off than others. Before I proceed, a significant part of my life, amongst a few of the other things that I have done, I've also played a lot of professional cricket. And I've spent a lot of my time with martial arts and boxing. And one of the things that I learned, both in cricket and physical full contact sports, I think the best analogy would be boxing, is the strength of a man's character, pardon, I mean, I don't intend to be sexist, it could be a woman's character. The strength of a man's character is not not how hard you swing. It's not your left hook or your killer jab or your chin punch. The strength of a man's character is what do you do when you're down on the mat? How do you scheme? How do you plan? How do you try and figure out what happened? You figure out what you're going to do once you get up. And then the real strength of a man's character is getting up again. Getting up and keep fighting. Now, I think COVID has given all of us an opportunity of looking at our lives, at our businesses, and exploring what is it that we're going to do, what can we do whenever this world is going to go through this, and then it's going to start flying back. The world over, people are saying it's going to be like a V, right? So we are tumbling down right now. We do not know where the end is, but there is an end. And as we come to the end of the V, the climb up is going to start again. I can see many of the people over here are very young, while some may be less young. Those of you who can remember 2008-9, the climb up after 2008-9 was remarkable. I think a better example would be SARS in 2003, where I specifically remember, I was reading the other day, I had a session with a bunch of hoteliers and travel folks. The hospitality and the travel industry is going to take one of the biggest of hits, as people are saying. SARS, an organization called Trip.com, fell by about 40% in a span of a quarter or 2 quarters. But once the upswing started, the upswing went up to almost 200% thereafter. The question is not, is it going to happen for you? It's not going to happen for everybody. What do we have to do to figure out that it does happen for us? That's something that Arijit, me, and people like us are continuously looking at. We're looking at it for our own businesses. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is common sense, but then, common sense is not necessarily always very common. So here we go. So customers, it's about adding those extra few. A COVID-19 and beyond world. Once again, that's me. So here's the video, guys. Big experiment. Let's see if it works or not. I want you guys to pay absolute full attention to what you see. All right? This is going to be very, very simple for almost all of you. I hope the message is there. Pay attention if it works.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Arijit, can you unmute people, please?
All are unmuted.
All right. Any guesses? How many passes?
5.
5.
Sorry.
5.
11
Few.
passes.
Okay. You saw anything extra? Anything different?
The 13. There was extra 14.
The answer is 13.
Watch.
But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Arijit, you can mute again. Arijit, please unmute again once more.
Sure.
For those of you who did not see it the first time around, I'm hoping you all saw the little moonwalking bear that went. Thank you, Arijit. Mute again, please. Okay.
Yeah.
This was a little social experiment done quite some time back, and the name of the book is called The Invisible Gorilla. It's a phenomenal book which talks about how we tend to miss things, especially things that we are not looking out for. I think this is a direct correlation with one of the most oft used words, expressions, common sense. And then we again have the extension of that phrase, common sense, as common sense is not very common. When you tend to expect things, you look for it and you stay focused on that. Focus is important. Focus is also very dangerous because with a lot of focus, what happens is your peripheral vision goes for a toss. When your peripheral vision goes for a toss, you tend to miss a number of things. I intended to emphasize on this, and with that, my point is it's easy to miss something that you're not looking for. Coronavirus, obviously we were not looking for it and we missed it. We did not think what it's going to be. All of a sudden, health seems to matter to governments all over the world, right? We only can wish now we had spent more time and money building hospitals, right? If we built more hospitals, if we built more ICUs, we need not have had the damn lockdown. Coronavirus is not all that dangerous. We should have been able to prepare for it, but we couldn't. Now, obviously, that's a lesson for the governments. That's a lesson for all of us in so many different ways. Question is, what are we looking for? Are we looking for the right things? one of the things that I keep talking about, and this has got nothing to do with coronavirus, whenever I speak with startups or any businesses, I talk about the present self vis-a-vis the future self. That's something that I have spent a lot of my life thinking about. I did not think about it properly earlier. I tend to do it now. We tend to miss there's a perpetual battle between the big picture and the smaller detail. Now, what is more important? Of course, both is more important. Because if you do not look at the smaller detail, as the expression goes, the devil is in the detail, you tend to miss the little things which, and all of a sudden, life around you has changed quite dramatically and you can't touch it. On the contrary, most startups tend to get caught up with their everyday life so much, they forget about the big picture. They forget about what tomorrow is meant to be or they thought it's going to be. The challenge with that is, then you're not building a business anymore. You're just surviving, sustaining every day. Somewhere between the two, the right kind of balance is where true business is. Some stuff that we know well, hopefully. This session today is not meant for this particularly, so I'm going to go really rush through this. We know what we started with. We know where we wish to go. We know what we are making, selling. We know why we are so cool. We know who should buy this. We know why they should buy this. Now, the last two questions are very important. I don't know how many of you do business which are sharper on the innovation curve. Right? I know I meet people all the time who build products and I ask them, so why should people buy your product? This is very good. I say, says who? Oh, it's very good. I say, says who? What do you mean it's very good? Now, hope everybody should buy this. Really? Now, those last two questions are important. All of them are important, but I'm not going to spend time on this slide at all. Mind you, success and failure for 99.99% businesses is perhaps in this slide. There is a bigger question right at the beginning is who are the founders and how do they work with each other, etc. I'm leaving that. That's like point 0. This is point 1. I'm going to go to point 2 now. So some stuff that we know well, do we? Question is, who are your customers? Who are our customers? And then immediate thought that comes to my mind is, why do people buy from us? I don't see enough startups spending time with this. I ask them, why do people buy from you? Because I'm cheap, really? Because I'm extremely, extremely smart or my product is unbelievable, really? I then start asking them, why do people believe in you? You just started your business. Most likely you're not going to survive. Most likely, well, 99% businesses who start up don't survive. Well, then why should I believe in you? Why should I at all buy from you? Automatically, the thought comes to our mind is, why do people trust us? When I speak to startups and they say, oh, I'm so good at what I do. Why aren't my customers buying from me? And I ask them, do you go and buy a pair of jeans or a mobile phone from a company who just started off? Or would you rather go to somebody who's been around for a while? How is it any different? Just because you are now the founder does not mean life is going to completely change. Why do people trust us? Hey, this is still not what I'm going to talk about today, but this is an important slide, right? Why do people care? Why should people care? Who are your customers? Why? So who are your customers? But today's session is not about that. I'm hoping you have actually gone through your business and answered all of those questions extremely well. If you have not, then you are possibly in trouble. But this session is not about this. Those people who buy from you, they trust you, they believe in you, they think that you have something that they want, they need. Then you think about customer persona, demographics, psychographics. This session is not about persona. This session is not about demographics. This session is not about psychographics. Those people who buy from you, they trust in you. I hope you have spent enough time trying to think who they are. Because those people truly are, people who buy from startups are silly. It is silly to work with startups because most startups don't survive. Now, here's the thing, guys. You're all entrepreneurs. You've all got startups. Arijit has quite a few businesses. So do I. There is something unreasonable about us. We are extremely unreasonable people. What is more reasonable is to pick up a job and work somewhere. It's unreasonable to set up a business which most likely will not survive statistically. Every startup thinks their startup is going to survive. And I ask them, why? Why do you think it's going to survive? What is it that you have done differently that will make you beat the statistics? Now, here's the beautiful part about this COVID-19 scenario. All those extremely reasonable people and unreasonable people like you and me, we are all stuck in our houses. I think coronavirus is the ultimate equalizer. It has put all of us exactly in the same place, and only a few is going to emerge from here. I'm not sure who's silly now. This session is not about whether they are silly or we are silly. This session is about, have you truly understood your customers? Let me change the ask. Who are not our customers? Have you ever thought, who should not be your customers? Let me change that question more. How well do you know your customers? Now, I know Arijit spends a lot of time, the two of us have done some work together. He spends a lot of time talking to people about how well do you know your customers. Can you literally predict what your customers would do? Well, Steve Jobs could predict, right? He could predict that people will behave extremely rationally every time he comes out with a phone. Ridiculous behavior all over the world, cutting across socioeconomic strata. Can you predict? Do you know your customers very well? This session is for something slightly beyond that. There is this concept, that's what I want to leave you guys with, of something called non-customers. That's not the same as who are not your customers. These are non-customers. This concept may be known to some of you if you have read this book called The Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a phenomenal book by two professors, Professor Kim and Professor Malwan. They're NCR professors, and they're very cool. The book was fantastic. There were many good concepts in that book, but this non-customer thought, I think, has been one of my single largest lessons. One of, if there are 6 lessons that I have learned over the last 10, 15, 20 years of my business journey, non-customer is one of them. As I come to the end of my session, another 5-7 minutes, I'll be done.
Well,
I want to
honestly, Kaustav, we have only, I guess, 5 minutes or 10
Oh,
minutes.
5 minutes. Very good. Well, I have only one more slide. And that slide is this. I want to leave this with you guys. These are your non-customers. You have something called soon to be. You have something called refusing. And you have something called, well, the ignored component. The first two are more from a customer's point of view. And the last one is from your point of view. And let's look at the first one, soon to be. Can you categorize your customers who are most unlikely to hang around with you? Who are they? Why are they disloyal? Then you figure out how to retain them. The refusing ones, they're not willing to work with you, and they don't consider that you are worthwhile, but you want to work with them. You have a category for that. And the final one, ignored, the ones that you have ignored. The reason I'm saying this, guys, is you possibly have a wealth of customers around you that you have completely not taken into account while you were busy trying to chase new customers. That's a fundamental aspect of the Blue Ocean strategy, one of the fundamental aspects. And I believe this is something that startups need to do. Large corporations are doing this all the time. I believe startups need to do this even more so. It's harder for you to get new customers. I'm saying you already have customers. You already know them. You know the soon-to-be ones, you know the refusing ones, and you certainly know the ignored ones. Can you spend some time and think about who these people are? I'll be happy to cut this across, send it to Arijit, and Arijit can share with all the guests today Can you find out who these people are? And you have a wealth of customers waiting to be served. There are all kinds of people. You know, the final slide, John Lennon sang this song, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." If you're busy making business plans for ourselves, for our investors, through those cracks fell a few people who actually are the most important people for your business. It's not you, not your investor, it's your customers, your paying customers. They are waiting to be served. Soon to be the ones who refused, the ones who you ignored. I ask you again, do you know your customers? That picture is something that I love a lot. I think that's what describes the entrepreneurial world. While we are busy, there's something right in front of you. It may not be very pleasant. That is me.
Super. Super energy flow. So I'll keep everyone in unmute mode, but I expect that we'll respect our other participants as well. About to happen. So I've got a question for you, Kaustav.
Yes, you know names. There are a few people I seem to know here.
Hold on. Can I unmute everyone? Sorry. Someone's Kaustav, can you unmute? PI Banerjee, most probably background noise. Now listen.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to mute everyone. Anyway, I have a question from Abhishek. Abhishek is asking that he is trying to build a platform for robotics, which will be an online learning platform on 16th of April 2020. How can he advertise his platform to know more students? And he want to do a partnership with some famous person in this business to explore the opportunities. Over to you, Kaustav. You can unmute yourself and please give a reply.
Right. I'm extremely impressed with the specificity of Abhishek's date, 16th of April. There are very few people in this country, in this world, who are very focused about dates right now. That's extremely impressive. I think an e-learning platform on robotics is an extremely exciting thing. I do not know how good your content is. I, for one, will be very keen to know more about this.
Yeah.
I have a lot of interest in both e-learning and robotics. However, the second part of your question is, how can you advertise this platform to find more students? Well, there's no shortcut to this, right? I don't know, if you're going to go B2C, it's going to cost you a lot of money. If you're going to go B2B, as in go to colleges or schools and try and promote, it may appear to be cheaper, but it may take a lot longer. So you don't have a shortcut to this. Sure, if you have a famous person partnering you, it helps. Who doesn't want to partner with a famous person? I'm sure Baiju has been benefited immensely with a certain Mr. Shah Rukh Khan's patronage. Arijit is very famous. You may want to talk to him, and maybe he could promote on your behalf. See, the way to do this.
Already I offer.
Already offered.
Already I offer.
I think the way to go about this is it's a right approach, right? You want to talk to somebody who can be your brand mascot. That may help your message to spread faster. Now, how do you do that? Again, I mean, if there was a known mechanism, then everybody would be doing exactly the same. I would perhaps look at somebody. See, either you can look at somebody who's got a mass appeal, could be a film star, could be a sports person, or I could look at somebody who may have some degree of appeal, but a lot more specificity, topical appeal, say in the field of robotics or learning. This, again, strategy will depend whether you're going B2C or B2B. B2C, I will choose somebody from the film industry or sports industry. If I'm going B2B, I'll choose somebody who colleges, the bosses of colleges and bosses of schools will be more keen to be attracted to? I don't know. Could be a famous professor, could be a vice chancellor of
For
university.
the sake of everyone, I have got a couple of other questions. Abhishek,
Quickly, let's move to the next one.
Yeah, Abhishek, for your answer, I'm giving you a reply in front of everyone. I have got I think 44 participants. Now it's 39. I'm in for your platform. I'll be helping you out. Okay, so don't worry. I have got another interesting question from Mr. Prashur Kumar Raut. Abhishek, can you put your phone mute mode? Okay, Mr. Raut asked you the question, Kaustav. How do you see Blue Ocean strategy working for the food and beverage industry, which has always been so red?
Lovely. First and foremost, it's good to see Prashun has read. It seems like the Blue Ocean strategy, which is fantastic. I highly recommend that everybody does. I do not agree with Prashun that the food and beverage industry has always been in red. For that matter, every industry could be in red, right? It's a question of which organizations are in the red vis-a-vis which ones aren't. I'm not going to get into the conversation about which industry is doing well, which one's not. Now, coronavirus days, the food and beverage industry clearly seems to be a lot more exciting industry than many other industries. In many ways, the COVID-19 world is showing to us which industry should have made more sense. Somehow, a lot of industries seem to be a lot more important when life is fantastic. However, now, all of a sudden, when we are stuck in our houses, some other industries seem to be a lot more important. The question is, I don't think the food and beverage industry is in the red. I think it's industries whatever the book says or the author say, I look at specific opportunities, whether they are blue or red. I believe the food and beverage industry is ripe for innovations right now. I think organic food is going to go through the top. I think food that boosts immunity is going to go through the top. I think there will be different types of drinks which are going to come up. It could be the beverage industry. I think is just about to explode, especially in India. We are just waking up to what the possibilities are.
I have another interesting question. Sorry. I think we have got more 12 questions. We can't finish it on time, but yes.
We can cover all.
Okay, so we have another interesting question. Does co-creation help customer acquisition? From Dr.
100%.
Chattopadhyay.
Dr. Chattopadhyay, I think it's a phenomenal question. It's one of my favorite areas. I absolutely believe that co-creation is one of the most important aspects of customer. Co-creation is important for everything. One of the things that I personally try to do all the time with all the startups I work, I try and get them to work with each other. There are tremendous degrees of opportunities with co-creation, 100%. Even with customer acquisition, I firmly believe if multiple different parties target a customer from different angles, from different prisms, acquisition's hard, retaining is harder. Co-creation helps in retaining as well.
Super. I have got another question from another startup. It's Ranjan Kumar Gupta from Rao Industries. Due to the lockdown, construction business fully fall down. Okay. So how to grow? What's the strategy? Like they actually produce a element which doesn't have. I know them in person, so which doesn't have any kind of, you can say, Ranjan, you can come online and you can speak to Kaustav directly. I can arrange a meeting separate way because this question would take a lot of time, I guess.
It will take a lot of time. Since he has asked a quick 30-second answer, I have a lot of experience, some experience in the construction industry. I've consulted quite extensively. Arijit knows about it. I firmly believe this industry is going to be very badly hit, but it's falling on that B. But this will be one of the industries will climb the fastest. When you want to give your economy a boost, you need to build things. Just keep that in mind. You need to build things, right? You need to build. So infrastructure of any kind, I think, is going to be in for a great ride going forward. Hopefully, Ranjan, you will be one of those people who will be riding in that.
Yes, just wait. Okay, Rizwan runs a food and beverage industry. So Somadip, I'm allowing you, but this is basically end of time anyway. How can we make our product viral without having a web or app keeping the viral cycle time low and the viral coefficient high? So Rizwan usually does home-based food and he actually delivers it to the local area.
I remember Rizwan and I met in IIM Calcutta. I remember him. I think his business is a very interesting business. I think this answer will take a lot longer right now, but very briefly, Rizwan, web and app does not make a promotion viral, right? Web and app is a means to it,
Yeah.
right? So web and app helps, but having a great web and app does not mean it's going to go viral. I think we need to go back to better questions like, do you know your customer properly? And do you know the right stories to tell? If you know the right stories to tell, the web and app is only going to be useful then. If your stories are not proper, the web and app is going to do nothing, right? So, but then again, can you, if you have a great story to tell and if you don't have a web or an app, will it be possible to go viral? Perhaps it can through word of mouth and a wide bunch of other things. It seems unlikely in today's world.
Last question. Really sorry, we have got 1 minute left. Upcoming future, the world will face recession. In a competitive market, how would a firm can hold their existing customers as well as new customers?
You know, I wish we had more time for this question because I think this sums up everything. But Shumanto, I think this is a great question, and the shortest way of looking at it is this entire session is because of that, right? The upcoming world, it's going to get more competitive because people are going to struggle more. When people spend less and there are too many people offering exactly the same services, it's going to get harder. Now, what does that mean? It means that it's going to get harder to sell. So customer acquisition is going to be hard. Customer retention is going to be harder. People are going to try and save money and they're going to move to whoever is the cheapest. So in this particular case, whatever the context of our conversation today was, becomes even more important. How well do you know your customers? The ones you ignored could perhaps save you now, right? So I believe if you go through that table, that's where the message lies. This is the time you should be tightening your belts a little bit more. It's going to get harder, guys. Good news is it's hard for everybody, not just for you, right?
True.
Remember, we are all on the mat. The one who comes out with the right kind of thought processes when you get up is going to win the battle.
Super. Excellent insights, Kaustav, and really, 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 we are all